Okay, calm down.
Hey guys.
Briahna Joy Gray. We got Briahna
How are
Joy Gray
you?
of Bad Faith Podcast.
Bad Faith
It is
Podcast.
good to
Yes,
see you.
indeed.
Sorry it's so loud where I am.
Oh,
The
no,
last time I
not
had
at
Briahna
all.
Joy Gray on my show, she was wearing not one, not two, but 3 Jill Stein hats.
Hey,
Literally.
That is commitment.
I've got
Yeah.
one with an arm's distance if you really want me to.
There you go. She never goes
Briahna,
far. Never leaves one
Briahna,
without it.
I am
Yes,
so
Rania.
excited. I am so excited to have you on because you have been all over the place. I saw you on AJ Up Front with Mark Lamont Hill, and you did excellent in a debate about voting third party. And you have been a really strong advocate, not just this election cycle, but repeatedly about the importance of breaking the two-party stronghold by forming third parties in this country. And before I actually want to, before I get your response to this, I want to play a clip. I know you've already seen it, but I did this focus group while I was here of Arab Americans who everybody's been talking about who they're going to vote for. I got people of a variety of perspectives. And Briahna, what was so interesting is it was like pulling teeth to find a single person in Michigan who's Arab American who was willing to go on the record and publicly say they will be voting for Kamala Harris. So our focus group was all third-party voters, a couple undecideds, and actually 2 Trump supporters in the Arab American community.
We don't even exist on the list when it comes for the American government. They care about Israelis, not us. So when we choose to vote, we don't choose to vote because, we don't see how the American government have hands on that. It's because depends on what goal we're trying to achieve. How, Anna, when I speak to people in Lebanon and they tell me, Misha, can you make sure you don't mobilize the community to vote for Trump? I'm like, I'm not doing that, but why? Can I know why? They're like, because he wants to expand. We want to finish. We just want to finish. I'm like, so what do you think we should do? I listen to my people back in Lebanon. I don't just listen to the same emotions that we all know about it, and we don't need nobody to remind us about it. No one have the right to do that. No one have the right to dictate our life story and being re-traumatized and generational trauma we pass it on to our kids. Truly, is that what we're trying to educate ourselves about? F women's rights when our own women struggling, losing their babies in bags. We know that. We know that we're been betrayed by the Democratic Party.
But she actually was one of the people who she works inside the Democratic Party, and she refused to say if she endorsed Kamala or not. She was still undecided, but she was still seeming to be struggling because she feels her own community is upset with her for still working inside that party. Briahna, I want to ask you, as we're on election day now, what is your response to the way that this has been covered? I mean, you did a really good segment about John Oliver, basically using this woman, a Democratic, Palestinian American woman, I believe, who endorsed Kamala, to say that because she said that, we should all endorse Kamala over Trump.
Rula Roman, right? The Georgia representative.
Exactly. Yes. And look, John Oliver, I think many of us have enjoyed his, lighthearted work over the years, but it's for that reason, I think, particularly disappointing to see him sort of leverage one woman's political choices to sort of launder his own desire to defeat Trump. And as he says in the clip, basically go back to brunch, not have to think of him anymore, especially when Rura's politics are not at all representative of what polls suggest is the norm within the Arab American community, and what also your own interviews suggest and anecdotal evidence suggests. So I actually use clips from that really amazing panel you put together, Rania, to help to illustrate this point. I used them to kind of provide some anecdotal context, but also remember the CARE poll from just a few days ago, which shows that more Arab and Muslim American voters, I think it's actually Muslim American voters, are choosing Jill Stein than Kamala Harris. The numbers are close, but Jill Stein eked out slightly ahead. So to then pretend as though finding Rura and having her sort of opinion stand in for the all is deeply disingenuous. We also have a little bit of information that's just come out, I've seen on the timeline. There is a vote tally from one majority Arab American Muslim precinct in East Dearborn, Michigan. The leader in that tally is Donald Trump with 203 votes. Right behind him with Jill Stein is 153 votes. Kamala Harris is down at 59 votes. So Jill Stein got almost 3 times as many votes as Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is a bit ahead of Jill Stein. But what we're really seeing is that Kamala Harris is nowhere in this conversation, at least for this precinct that we have numbers for in Dearborn, Michigan, which of course has a large Arab American population.
Yeah, and just real quick, I mean, there are Arab Americans who have endorsed Donald Trump. They're not many, but there's a lot of people in the Yemeni community here in Dearborn who have endorsed Donald Trump. Some of them are just actually Republicans, and others are, you know, not as informed, and they really believe, like, Donald Trump actually came here a few days ago, and he's saying, I mean, very superficially, peace in the Middle East doesn't really mean anything, but he at least came here and said it, whereas Kamala Harris and the Democrats have refused to. Instead, they sent Bill Clinton to Michigan. We all saw how that went. But sorry, real quick, I do want to play that third-party voter clip and then get your response to that clip.
For those who are voting third party, I'm just going to ask you this because a lot of people are saying it. What do you say to people who argue that you are wasting your vote and helping to get Trump elected? Who would like to take that first?
Well, if Trump does get elected, that's not our problem. That's solely the Democrats' problem. I can't, in good conscience, vote for either party, Democrat or Republican. So like when they say, oh, but, you know, a vote third party is a vote for Trump. Well, first off, I'm not going to vote for somebody who has a direct hand in genocide. And then secondly, I'm not voting for Trump either. So that's your problem, not mine.
Okay, does anybody want to add to that, please?
I think it's kind of presumptuous to assume that the Democratic Party had our votes in the first place. So I actually, I resent that assumption. Back in 2000, I remember both parties kind of scaring our community into going one way or another, right? I was not old enough to vote. Then in 2004, they scared me into voting for John Kerry. I said never again at that point. I'm not going to be backed into this anymore, into this corner. The lesser of two evil is actually the evil of two lessers, and I'm not going to engage in that.
I think it's quite powerful. Go ahead, Briahna.
Every single person on that panel could have been a comms professional.
Right.
In another life. I mean, really well-articulated opinions across the board, including from the gentleman who said he was not actually going to vote third party, but gave a really compelling case for why other people might make that choice. Similarly, the gentleman who in the front who was going to vote for Donald Trump made a compelling argument for why it was the Democratic Party was not going to be a choice. Obviously, I would choose a different party option for him, but still all of them had really, I think, clearly been exposed to the counter arguments that you're hearing from the Democratic Party, and they simply were not moved. For them, voting for the party that has had such a disrespectful, that's putting it so lightly, murderous relationship with their own community just is a complete and total non-starter. And Rania, to your point, Donald Trump is often criticized for making promises he doesn't plan to keep, making bad faith arguments, choosing to have every opinion under the sun that are completely contradictory, all of these kinds of things. And of course that's true. But I do think one thing that the liberal commentariat sometimes misses is that sometimes voters, they know you're BSing them, but they appreciate someone who's willing to come to them and at least try to win their vote, even if it's pure horse manure, than someone who will give them the middle finger to their face. And I think sending Bill Clinton to Michigan to spew Islamophobic garbage.
I understand why young Palestinian and Arab Americans in Michigan think too many people have died. I get that. It isn't how many we've had to kill, because Hamas makes sure that they're shielded by civilians. They'll force you to kill civilians if you want to defend yourself. Us did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable. Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before their faith existed, they were there. In the time of King David, and the southernmost tribes had Judea and Samaria. But when I read that people in Michigan are thinking about not voting because they're mad at the Biden administration for honoring its historic obligation to try to keep Israel from being destroyed, I think that's a mistake.
Sending Bill Clinton to Michigan to spew Islamophobic garbage is frankly plainly worse than Donald Trump, reasonably to some people, than Donald Trump showing up and at least trying to pretend that he cares about what you care about.
And why would Muslims support Kamala when she embraces Muslim-hating Liz Cheney? Can you believe Liz Cheney, a total loser, whose father brought years of war and death to the Middle East?
If you believe those are the only two options, I understand why somebody would opt for Trump.
My theory is that the Clintons didn't want anyone besides Hillary Clinton to be the first female president. So Bill Clinton tried to sabotage Kamala's chances. But I also think that, something that Donald Trump does so well is he's a pathological liar, but he kind of alternates between pathological lies and radical truth telling. So he will say something very honest every now and then. And I think people appreciate that, which doesn't deny, I don't want to downplay his lies, but I think that it's like every now and then he says something that no one else will say, and that buys him a lot of credibility with people.
I think that's right.
Well, listen, Briahna, I hate to cut this short, but I love that you got to come on and respond to that. I appreciate you so much, and I want everybody, the amazing monologue you've been doing. I've seen that you've been back to your monologues.
The debriefs.
But now
the
doing
debriefs.
it yours, the debriefs, which I love just as much, if not even more, than what you used to do at the Hill. So thank you so much, Briahna, for everything you do. Briahna Joy Gray, Bad Face Podcast. We appreciate it, and we'll all be watching you.
All right. Thanks to you both. Take care.
Bye, Briahna.